Ghana's current president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Addo, has been judged as one of Africa's best leaders. Following a little analysis and survey that was done from the number of African countries that were able to bounce back after the pandemic, and also looking at the development speed of some African nations from the year 2016 to now. And by this, a lot of things were considered in the criteria for being one of the best leaders. And by what we are seeing, the Ghanaian president Nana Addo Dankwa Addo was one of the few leaders who was able to keep the nation moving in stability after the pandemic hit the world back in 2019. There were many countries that were not able to get back on their feet from that time up to now. Even as we speak, some countries have stopped certain productions of some material because they are still perplexed about how to go after the pandemic. Now, aside the pandemic which happened in 2019, the survey that was conducted showed that there are many development projects which have not been completed by some leaders, and for those which have been completed and have been done successfully, Ghana was one of those countries which were listed for a lot of development projects in the last 5 years. So, taking a look at this, Ronaldo was judged as one of the best African leaders, he and his government, the MPP. When you also take a look at his involvement and his influence in organizations and some bodies which Ghana is a part of, you'll notice that he's very instrumental in bringing some very important changes to not only our nation but to Africa as a whole. When you look at his involvement in bodies like the African Union, you'd see that the Ghanaian president is very serious about making improvements in a lot of areas and sectors in the economy in this nation and outside the nation. There has been also some very good works done by the president in bodies like the United Nations as well as ECOWAS. So when they take ground look at how his involvement has brought about improvement in the lives of many people, he was considered as one of the very best leaders. Apart from this, the survey also took into consideration those presidents whose nationals spoke well about them and whose nationals were happy with the work that were being done. In some African countries, their presidents are always being bashed for one thing or the other, and not the greater part of the population supports their president. But when you come to Ghana, the majority is for His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Addo, and a lot of people are very pleased with the way he's taking the country forward. There were some comparisons of how some things affected the nation in the years before, with things like lightouts, and then how it brought people's businesses down, and how it was a very big nuisance to many in the country. And when that comparison was done, and they saw that now things are not like that. People are not suffering those, you know, lightouts, which comes with some shadows for the time to receive your light and the time to have no light. So, as light was a very important factor, power is a very important factor in running a nation. Our president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was judged as one of those leaders whose government did its best to ensure that the power that was being received by its nationals was continuous and had no problems at all. Another thing that was looked at in this survey was the promises that were made by some African leaders and how they were following through with it. A lot of people were very surprised when the president brought about this one district, one factory initiative, as well as some other initiatives that were brought out by the president and his government to see to roads and to do other things that will bring development to the nation. There were many development projects that were outlined in their manifesto, and truly they are following through with their promises. Though all have not been fully completed, work is being done in different areas to ensure that things are going on smoothly and their promises are not just words. And by looking at the initiatives that the governments of these African nations have brought in place, our president Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was praised for his very innovative ideas, with even how they make their calculations on giving every region its own facility and its own resources, so that there wouldn't be too much of a dependence on one region which has some of these resources needed by all other regions in the nation. Also, his influence in the way he speaks and he gets his message across, not only in the nation but in public forums, and also in some of these organized bodies in the world, have given him the points of being one of the best leaders in Africa. If you've ever been in a forum where the president was invited, you'll notice how he accepts constructive criticism, and how he listens to some suggestions by different people, regardless of their background, regardless of how powerful or how how small they may appear to be, regardless of how the works they do and what they expect of him. The president is able to listen, to understand, and to promise to work on it and follow through actually with his promises. There was a women forum that was held some years back, and the women had a lot of questions for him, and after listening and answering, many were pleased because they saw he was just not saying things to please their ears, but he was giving proof, and also he was making promises to continue with those things which he had already shown them he was working on, he and his governments were working on. So this one too has also been one of the key points which they had to look at before judging him as one of the best African leaders. This is because There are some African leaders who, when they come into power, they feel they cannot be spoken to anyhow. They cannot be, directed in a certain way. But our president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is open to all forms of, talks and debates and suggestions, and he doesn't look at a person's background before deciding to answer the question, or explain a thing or the other to the person, especially when questions are asked them about certain things in the nation. And this is a good thing because it makes us to see that our president is not one of those presidents who just wants to use power to satisfy their own needs, but rather he is glad to use the power to bring gladness of heart to the individuals in the nation of Ghana. So, when you take a good look at how this is is a happy thing for many people in the nation. Um, they are sure that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his government would continue to be a delight to many people in the nation. Our Ghanaian president has also gained some international recognition for his stand to do differently from other nations when some of these monetary bodies and other organized bodies in the world try to force their ways in some African countries for their own benefits. Because of this, the president was judged as one of the best leaders as well. There are some presidents who would not make the right decision for their countries because of the monies and the help they expect from some monetary bodies, some financial institutions, and all these organized bodies that give help to some nations. But our president is one of those presidents who puts his foot down and says, "No, I'm not just going to receive money because we need money, but I'm going to make sure the terms and conditions coming with this money are going to favor the people of Ghana. If not, I'm not taking it." And he showed this even in his speech in some forums and in some very important international meetings. You have to understand that there are some of these gifts and some of these helps that come from these foreign bodies, which don't come free. They may look like they may come free, but they normally come at a price. And sometimes when you go and look at the terms and conditions that have been outlined in those contracts, you will see that they most times exploit the nations which come to them for help. But our president makes sure to look at the contract well and to decide whether it will be favorable for the nationals or not before going ahead to actually sign the contract and receive such help. Now, one other thing which was also looked at to give him one of the best leaders recognition is those nations that also are able to give help to other nations. Now, as we speak, the nation of Ghana is helping many other African nations around us. We supply power to some nations around us. We even have water channeled to some nations around us, and even in our mining areas, we do the same thing. We help other nations with what we mine, and also even with the oil, we are giving help to some nations. These are contracts that most times are not really open for many people to see because of how sometimes serious and delicate the issues are. So, since our president is going ahead to do this and offer these types of help to some African countries, he was judged as one of Africa's best leaders because he was not only concentrated and concerned about our nation but also about other nations as well. So that is it. Let us know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you have any ideas where the president could, follow up to make things better? Or maybe you just have something you disagree with. Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you very, very much for listening and have a very, very nice day.